Okay, some opinions on the roosting bars. My thoughts being, I did notice the birds were mostly on the narrow side. A few more on the shelves. Not necessarily the greatest spots for them. They know what they like, it's up to them. As far as the wide side, in the videos you saw we had either 3 or 4 on this part. I'm not saying this is wrong. It is my opinion, and only my opinion, that they like the smaller side. And this is from observing for the last many years that I've been doing it. All the birds like to be able to hold on to the side. If they can put their feet around it and wrap onto it, makes them more stable, makes them happier, they can relax better. If they are on the wider area, a lot of problems what they have is while they're sleeping, they get into a sleep or a relaxation, or they end up tipping forward or something silly on their part. And because they can't hold on to the side, they end up falling. Now, I have never had a bird that I know of, I don't have cameras on everything, I've never had a bird fall off of the small sides and hurt themselves. I have had birds fall from this side while they were sleeping, and whether they hurt themselves from falling or whatever, I don't know, but I know the next day when I went down, we did have birds laying underneath the wider side. Again, I don't know. If you prefer to use the wider side, I suggest do more than a 2x4. It's not enough space for them to be up here comfortable without falling over. If you can give them a wider space, 8 inches, a foot, to where if they do lean forward, fall over, they're not going anywhere. If your coop is closed up wintertime, you have enough room, give them options. Give them the small side. Give them a shelf to sit on. Give them the floor to sit on. Wider footing, whatever you can do for them. Make them comfortable. Make it easy for yourself. Don't limit yourself to just, this is the right way, this is the right way, or that's the right way. There is no right way, and it's obvious. There is no one around that can sit there and tell you 100% use the flat side or the wide side. There's no one that's going to tell you have to use the small side. Honestly, this is what I prefer. I like that the chickens can hold on to it. I like they can put their feet around there and do what a bird is meant to do. You see the birds out in the wild, if they're not on the ground, they're typically up in a tree, on the telephone wires, and they're holding on. They're not, foot down, sprawled out. As far as that goes, again, that's my opinion, but it also is my opinion if you do have very cold, dramatic winters, you might want to consider doing the flat side. But if you have dramatic winters and you have a lot of birds in a nice sized closed in area, they make enough body heat. If you have a lot of birds, they will heat that coop up. And I've had my barn where we've had about 300 birds in it at one time, and it was 20, 30 degrees warmer in the barn than it was outside. And we've had it that way with other coops that we've also had. They throw off a lot of heat. If you're comfortable with what you have, flat side, wide side, narrow side, skinny side, shelves, as long as they have a place to roost, it makes them happy. But just consider when you do put in your roosting bars, do not use metal. Metal will freeze the toes. I have seen cold days here. We've gotten down below 0, and the birds' toes are fine. The only time that we've ever had trouble with any birds that lost toes or had frostbite on their feet, it wasn't the roosting bars. It was actually more of them being in a cold area and just above freezing, where they were in the mud and got mud all over their toes, went into the barn and temperatures dropped. And I mean, it was dramatic drops. So we're talking down in single digits. And that mud ended up freezing on their toes. Mud freezing also, with that happening, shrinks. When that shrinks, that cuts off circulation. I have seen that happen with people with dirty coops. They don't clean out their coops, and the poop on their toes freezes, dries, it shrinks. It cuts off circulation. So it's not just cold that you have to worry about, it's cleanliness. Good practice, keep things clean. Cold times, deep bedding method. Put in as much bedding as you can. As often as you can, turn that bedding and keep it cleaned out in there. If they get dirty feet, muddy feet, you will have birds lose their toes in winter. If you have areas that are drafty, try and close them up a little bit. You don't just have to worry about toes. We have birds that got frostbite on their crops. And if you live in cold areas, birds with I'm sorry, I said crops. My apologies. I meant their comb. Birds with tall combs will get frostbite on their combs much more easily than, say, this guy that has a smaller comb, or the guys that have the pea comb. The smaller combs don't typically get frostbite. It can, dramatic temperatures again, but there's where again you want to think about your temperatures. What's your weather? What's your climate? What do you have to deal with? Same thing if you have birds that have feather feet, Brahmas, copper Moran, silkies. If they have feathers on their feet and you're dealing with snow, you're gonna have problems with more frostbite. And there has been birds that people I know have lost birds because their feet froze and they fell off. Think as much as you can for the future and what your birds need. Ask as many questions as you can. Do what you feel is right. Everybody has opinions, and it's just that. It's always going to be opinions. It's not going to be 100% accurate every time. Gather up as much information as you can, and make the best choices for yourself and your birds. The more you know, the more you learn, the better it is. Keep it fun. As long as it's fun for you, it's going to be great for your birds. We learn every day. If you think for 1 second there's somebody out there that knows 100% of everything of chickens, never. The world of chickens is far bigger than you could imagine.